On this episode, I talk bringing them all together. This is Edtech Library episode number 11, Google Classroom. What's up everyone, I'm Mike and welcome to Edtech Library. On this particular episode, I'm going to be talking about one of the applications in the Google Apps for Education suite, and the most recent one also, and that is Google Classroom. Now, this particular application brings together so many different apps that are available to you in the Google Apps for Education suite, and as such, it might be the crowning jewel in the collection. Now, at its heart, Google Classroom is what we call a content management system, meaning that it is a platform where students and teachers can interact, share, collaborate, work on all sorts of different types of digital content. And so it may not have all the tools that you would find in a traditional LMS like Moodle, like Canvas, Blackboard, Schoology. It still has a lot of great features, a lot of great tools that are, of course, like the other applications, free. So this is not going to focus on all the different tools available. Google Classroom has so many different features to offer you. I'm going to focus on a few of those basic ones so that you can get off and running in your own Google Classroom. So this particular episode would be more of a primer than a comprehensive guide. So without any further ado, let's head to the look-in and see what Google Classroom has to offer. So in this tutorial, I just wanted to show you, beginning from scratch, what it takes to make a class and how you get started. So when we log in, you can see in here all the classes that I have set up. Some of these are active, some of them are not. But the ones that are active, actually, you can see all of them have some assignments due. So one of the nice parts about this particular panel is that when I log in, I can see at a glance all the assignments coming up that are due in each one of my classes. Now, in order to create a class, it's very simple. I need to go to the upper right-hand corner, click on the plus sign, and then simply click Create. Creating a class is going to give me the option to create the class name and a section. Once I create it, I'll be able to update more details about that particular class inside the Google Classroom. If you click the plus sign, again, you can also see that we have another option, joining a class. This is what your students would click if you want them to join in a class that you've created. So by joining a class, the students would need to simply provide a class code, which you can find and give to them through the Google Classroom that you've created for that particular student. You can reset the code. You can also disable the code. So once you have your students in, you can disable it so that no more students will enter the class at any time unexpectedly. I've created a quick demo class here, which we'll take a look at. One of the unfortunate things is that I won't be able to show you on the student side of this particular work. One of the things that you will need to have in order for this to be a functional app for you is to be a part of a Google Apps for Education district. Now, I don't have a student account or a sample or test student account that I can use, so I'll show you everything from the admin side, and hopefully later on down the line I'll be able to do a bit of an amendment to this episode and show you what the student view looks like. Once you get into the class, you can see the platform is pretty simple, and I think the simplicity is one of the great things about Google Classroom, and it becomes very quick, very easy to learn. When we log in, though, the first main page is what we call a stream, and it kind of looks like any run-of-the-mill social media type platform where we have a main section of that page taken up with the latest announcements, in this case, for our course. The next tab we have over is our students, and currently there's no students enrolled in the class. We can invite students specifically by sending them an email if we want, or we can give them that class code, which I explained earlier. The last page is your About page. Here's where we can include information about the course. You can include a course description, the name of the course. You have contact information for the teacher. If you're co-teaching, you can simply invite another teacher by clicking on this Invite Teacher tab. We can also add additional material. So if I wanted to post in here something like a syllabus, attach a file, a video, or links, I can post that in here in a breeze. One of the other nice parts about this particular section is you will find in here a calendar that's going to put in there all the important dates that you've assigned in the course. You can actually open that calendar in your own personal calendar, and so can the students. So if you want to save dates from your classroom into your Google Calendar, it's a really nice way to push out those notifications of when things are coming up that are due. Now going back to the stream, this is where we'll be able to create and add all sorts of different pieces of content for students to work from. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for that plus sign again, and it's actually down here in the right-hand corner. I already have a couple items in the stream, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. But by clicking on the plus sign, you'll see I have three main options: create an announcement, create an assignment, create a question. This fourth item actually allows me to reuse a post. So if I wanted to pull an old post from a different Google Classroom account, I can actually pull it and move it into this particular class. And so here it's going to ask me which one I wanted to take it from, and then I can move it over to my Google Classroom account that I want to move it to. So by clicking on the plus sign, I'm going to start with the announcements first. Announcement is pretty basic, so we can add our own announcement to this particular course. You will also see down here we can attach things like different types of files. We can pull something directly from Google Drive, add video or links. We can also post things to multiple classes at the same time. So if you're teaching multiple sections of the same subject, we can click on all these check marks and send it to whichever classes we want to. When it posts, it will post all those classes in the stream. So now we've added a new announcement. Then one of the nice parts too about this is this platform will allow you to engage with your students and also practice some of those really important digital citizenship skills. Adding class comments is something that you can enable or disable as the admin or the teacher of this particular class. Here I've enabled it so that students will be able to comment, so they can post their own thoughts in announcements or ask questions about the announcements. Once we get to questions, you'll see they have more flexibility. If I click on that plus sign and then create assignment, you'll see it looks very, very similar. So here we have our, let's say we have a test and we have instructions. And then I can also assign a specific due date. We can select a different date. They provide the calendar for you, which is nice. So maybe we'll move this up to here. You can even add a time. So this will timestamp everything. If there's a specific time you want this by, you can assign it by whatever time you want. And I'll put PM in there. Okay, so now that I have my time set up, I can also add different files. So similar to the announcement, you can add all sorts of things. I'm going to add something though to this just to show you how it works. So let me pull a, let's say for example, I want to pull this one. So I want to pull this particular rubric, and so I want the students to be able to view this file in this case. So when I would assign it, the students can actually look at this document. They won't be able to edit it. They could make their own copy if they really wanted to, but in this case, they would not be able to do anything but view it. Now I can change that option. So this is a really cool thing that you can use in your classrooms. One of the things I used this for last week was a review where we had students learning about different types of philosophies of China. And instead of having it view, I had it as students can edit the file. So what that allowed them to do was open this file up. And in the case of that, we used a slideshow. They added their own slide for the philosophy that they chose to summarize. And when they added the slide in, they were able to then view the work of the rest of the students because each of them could view and edit it. You can also do this too, which is kind of neat, make a copy. So if I wanted to have this available for each student to use as sort of like a template, then what they could do is when they open up this assignment, they click on this document, it will create their own individual copy of this particular assignment, and it'll even add their name to it too. So when they go to turn it in, it'll say China Extension Project Rubric, and it'll have their name right next to it. So once I assign this, it's now going to appear in the stream. It will also appear in our calendar with our due dates. And you can see here on the left-hand side, they have a quick glance. So due tomorrow, we have a previous assignment, which I set up down here. And now you'll see 9 p.m. test, due Tuesday. So that would be next week. So now that we've created an assignment and announcement, there is one more option, a question. And here are the questions. You can see we can actually provide the question. So I'll put a little question mark here, the instructions, the due date as well. So you can have students respond by a certain time. Now you can actually give them different permissions. So maybe students should be able to edit their answers, but I don't want them to be able to reply to each other. So what this will allow them to do is to answer or respond to the questions, but then not necessarily reply to each other's student, only see their own work. Again, you can add all sorts of different file types to your question, and it will now appear in our stream. Now, with each of these, you'll see I should say the question in the assignment, not the announcement. You actually will see that this comes up too, which is a really cool feature. If I click on this, it's going to tell me if I have multiple students in here, which ones are done and which ones are not done. And one of the other cool parts too as well is you can go ahead and grade them in here and return them directly to the student along with specific comments that you would like for them to follow. So maybe if you want them to resubmit something after they make a change, you can comment to them, send it back, and they're able to make that change and then resubmit. So in terms of functionality, this has a really great workflow to it. It's something that is going to help improve the quality of the content that you're providing your students, all digital. It's all very uniform and very consistent. The nice part though is that it'll avoid that paper jam that might get on your desk sometime. It'll allow students to do all this stuff digitally and turn it in digitally as well. So these are some of the basic pieces. Now there are some more detailed things that I can get into and I will get into in some future episodes. But at this time I just wanted to close out the brief tutorial by talking about some of the reasons why I think you should use Google Classroom in your own classroom. So now that you've seen some of the basics that Google Classroom has incorporated or tools that it has incorporated into it, I want to close this particular episode by talking about the top 5 reasons why you should use Google Classroom in your own classroom. First and foremost, I think number 1 is that the dashboard and the way that Google Classroom was created is in a way that it's very intuitive, it's very simple. When you're getting started as a teacher in a digital world, the change that you might be facing could be very daunting. And one of the nice parts about Google Classroom is that the way it is set up, it is very easy to use and very easy to follow. And so to get started here, all it takes is a few simple clicks, which I showed you at the look-in. And the nice part about that is that almost anybody can use this program or platform very quickly and very easily. The second reason why you want to consider using this is that it makes sharing things a lot easier. And a lot of us are trying to share large amounts of digital content with our students at one time, perhaps moving it into an email or moving it into a folder of some sort can be a time-consuming task. With Google Classroom, I can simply push out website or a whole folder worth of content to our students or my students with a click of a finger. And so it makes sharing a breeze, and that's something that certainly takes a lot of time out of my schedule or allows me to move new things into my schedule. The number 3 reason is that when you're looking at moving things to a digital world, being able to push out assignments in a digital space is a good idea. We want to get in the habit of our kids practicing using content management systems, learning management systems, because oftentimes when they enter the workforce, that's where a lot of their learning occurs, online. So when we're talking about Google Classroom, I can quickly and easily push out assignments, and students can actually turn those assignments into me that instead of giving me a desk full of papers, is now given to me all in one shot and organized alphabetically to which I can see them, I can grade them, and then return them. The next reason why you want to consider using this in your classroom is that the assignments themselves, and so kind of extending number 3, the assignments themselves actually can be incorporated into your own Google Calendar. So the nice part about when I assign things in my classroom, they will appear in my own personal Gmail calendar as well as that of my students. And so it gives them another space or another place to be reminded when things are due. And last but not least, and I think this might be the second most important reason, to be honest, and that is that Google Classroom provides us a safe place to practice some of the important skills of digital citizenship. When we're talking about our students and their digital footprints, not many people think about, what is it that my digital footprint looks like. If I Google myself, what do I find? And so when we're talking about posting things and being responsible online, Google Classroom provides us with a bit of a safe space to do that. Teachers can manage students within the account. They can also manage the permissions for those students within each account. So as a teacher, it gives me a place to have those teachable moments where I can talk about what it means to be responsible when we're posting comments, when we're responding to questions, where we're interacting in a digital world, what responsibility looks like. And so I think for that reason, Google Classroom is a great space or a great place to use. So all these above items do have something in common, which I haven't really talked about yet, and that is that the person using it, the admin, and even the students too as well, are all going to benefit from a more digital and a streamlined workflow. So a lot of things that you would have done individually in the past with gathering information, sharing it with your students, collecting papers, all these things are streamlined and put into one place, which is incredibly nice to have as a teacher. So when we're talking about Google Classroom, it is really an efficiency machine. It's going to make your job a lot easier. It's going to save you time, it's going to save your students time, and it's going to enhance the ability of students to share, collaborate in a digital environment, which is something that we all should be considering as teachers at this point. So with that, I'm going to wrap up this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed everything. If you really did enjoy it, please make sure you subscribe for future videos, and you also want to click that like button down below. Also down below you'll find in the description a couple of additional links to different resources for using Google Classroom in your own classrooms. One last plug too as well. I'm one of the organizers for Edcamp Lehigh Valley, which is located in Pennsylvania. And so if you're in the tri-state area, meaning New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, you definitely want to consider coming to this event. It'll be on May 14th. And it's going to be in the Christmas city of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. So details will also be located down in the description for that as well. Hopefully you enjoyed everything. If you have questions, comments, please leave them down below. But until next time, I'm Mike. Thanks for watching EdTech Library, episode number 11, Google Classroom.